What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Supergirl Season 2, Episode 22, finally the season finale. Nevertheless, she persisted. So, yeah, as many of you know, if you've watched my videos, I've hated this season, and so I hated the season finale. A lot of problems with it. It wasn't as bad as it could have been, so there is that, but there are a lot of problems. So let's first start off with the opening sequence. It kicked off the finale last episode with Superman shows up to stop Supergirl for some reason. Come to find out, apparently Rhea used silver kryptonite, which is apparently a thing that causes him to see what he fears most, and so he sees, instead of Supergirl, he sees Zod. Quick question. How come when she first used the silver kryptonite, he didn't see Zod instead of Rhea? Plot hole. I mean, at least have a good reason. Make it to where the kryptonite is able to control him easily. Of course, then, if it's that, then why doesn't she use it on Supergirl? So, this is just a plot hole. Bringing Superman back to be Rhea's puppet for the first part of this episode is just so Supergirl can be stopped for the moment, and so they wouldn't be able to stop the Daxamites at the end of last episode. They had to have some reason. They thought, oh, I know, let's bring back Superman to stop them, but we gotta come up with a good reason. Ooh, I know, let's make a kryptonite that lets him see, instead of Supergirl, he sees Zod. But why doesn't he see everybody as Zod then? Why does he only see Supergirl as Zod? That doesn't make any sense. When you really think about it, it doesn't make sense at all. So yeah, they have a fight scene. A lot of slow motion, a lot of punching. At one point they end up down in this pond and they're fighting each other. Probably went on for about 2 minutes, and Alex and Maggie are just standing off to the side going... I didn't actually see their facial expressions, but this is just what I imagined them doing. Because, I mean, why would you just stand there and watch? Unless, like, you just lost your mind for a second, so that's what I imagine them doing. Because, yeah, they just stood there. Alex didn't go get help. There was nothing they could have done. You know, tons of weapons for the DEO. Nothing they could do. Just stand there and watch. Good job, girls. You really know how not to help somebody. So finally, Supergirl finishes the fight off by knocking out Superman. Come back from commercial break. She wakes up next to Mon-El. Dream sequence. Takes a full minute for them to finally get done with that. Wake up at for some reason, they're at the Fortress of Solitude. Don't know why. But she wakes up, looks over, Superman's there. He wakes up, and he's fine. So I guess all it takes to combat the silver kryptonite is just to knock that person out, which is... It's good to know that such a simple solution can be found for such a complex situation. So yeah, for some reason silver kryptonite isn't affecting him anymore, so they're trying to figure out what to do next. Supergirl finds out about this trial by combat that the Daxamites had, and so she invites Rhea to a trial by combat. If she wins, the Daxamites have to leave and stop their invasion. If Rhea wins, then she can destroy the Earth while Supergirl watches. So, yeah, that ends up being the setup for it, but despite that, we have John's Magon is somehow talking to him in his mind and telling him you need to wake up and be prepared for a fight. You've got Superman who's there, even though he's not going to be a part of the fight. You've got Mon-El, whose entire story arc this season has consisted of him training to be a hero. You've got Lena and Lillian apparently have this device that can spread lead into the atmosphere, which can make all Daxamites have to leave. And yet they have this fight going on like this is the be-all, end-all. You're so predictable, show. You are so predictable. I mean, if they had just been setting up this fight and that was it, like they were just building up to the fight, they're talking about the fight, they're talking about what are they supposed to do, how are they going to handle this. If that had been it, I would have been like, okay, well then maybe the fight is it. And then you twist it around to where, oh no, the Daxamites attack. I kind of expected it, but I didn't once suspect that this was how it all was going to end. But you're setting up all these storylines, you're setting up these different story arcs that if Supergirl just fights Rhea and nothing bad happens and she wins and Rhea has to leave, what was the point of all the stories? So of course the Daxamites are going to betray her. Of course they're going to attack the city while they're fighting, so that way Jean-Jeans and Superman and Mon-El, they all have something to do, you know, because why else, right? Why else would you have these stories? So it's just so predictable, and it feels like they're setting up something clever, but deep down you know where this is all gonna go because it's obvious, and they're making it extremely obvious. Um, so yeah, Supergirl and Reyes start fighting. They start attacking the city, so John has to go out and fight. Superman goes out and fights. Uh, for some reason, Magan comes back and brings a ton of white Martians who wanted to defect with her. So that happens because, I don't know, we want to have a happy ending for John and Magan. Superman's taking out some ships, and then all of a sudden Reyes sends her, I guess, her bodyguard to go take him out. And so they tackle each other into the Catco building, and then he throws him out the window, and then that's it. Like, fight's over. So, yeah, that was short-lived. Mon-El goes down and fights some guys through some debris in front of the camera, you know, so we can't really see what's going on. And then at the end of it, he finishes them all off and says, sorry, not sorry. So he just took away any coolness factor he had in that scene. So, yeah, that's all going on. Meanwhile, Supergirl's fighting Rhea, and finally, you know, they're getting to a point where, like, Supergirl is kind of beating her up a bit more and is really starting to gain the upper hand, and Rhea's just like, go on, hit me, I'll let you have one for free. And Supergirl goes up and bam, hits her as hard as she can, and she stands up and she's got Kryptonian blood coming out of her head. What? And she just starts spouting this random stuff like, oh, I had kryptonite with me ever since Krypton exploded, and so now it's a part of me. And so, yeah, she's got kryptonite blood because, I don't know, this story couldn't have an easy ending, so they gotta make it difficult somehow. I know, why doesn't she breed kryptonite? That would be fun, wouldn't it? Just say that for 1 second. A Daxamite from Daxam, not from Krypton, from Daxam, bleeds kryptonite. I can't take that seriously. I understand this is a superhero show and you have to suspend your disbelief, but at some point you kind of have to say, okay, let's maybe take a step back and say that's not realistic. That doesn't fit in with our story very well. So they're fighting some more. Now Rhea's gained the upper hand because of her kryptonite blood. She tackles Supergirl through some sort of building, and then somehow they end up back on the roof that they were just on a few minutes ago. I don't know. Editing. Who cares anymore? So they're fighting. Finally Supergirl takes her down because, I guess, I don't know, she has the willpower to overcome the fact that kryptonite makes her weak. Think about it, story writers. If there's kryptonite around, she is no longer strong, which means she should not be able to punch like a Kryptonian anymore. She is now technically human because there's kryptonite around, but she's got the willpower to stand up for her world, so she's gonna overcome that. Okay, whatever. Sure. Whenever I have the willpower to save somebody, save the world, I'm gonna pick up a tree. You know, because apparently that's all you need now is just willpower. So yeah, Supergirl finally stops her, but of course the invasion is still happening. For some reason, I guess they're not very effective in stopping it, even though we've seen them taking on several guys and doing pretty well stopping them. I don't know, after Superman threw the guy out the window, I half expected him to just go on and take out a few more ships, but he didn't. He just kind of stopped. So, of course, Mon-El flies in, and he's just like, do it. You know, has that look on his face like it's okay. So she pulls out the remote device because we saw earlier Wynn and Lena were working on the device. Lillian tried to turn it on, but it didn't work because only Supergirl has the remote. So, of course, we have the conclusion I think we all kind of figured it was coming to, especially after they revealed this device that would take away all the Daxamites from this world. It just, once again, pretty obvious that it was going to come to a point where they had to use it and Mon-El would have to leave, and so, yeah. That happens, she uses it, Daxamites leave, Mon-El's mom turns into dust, and for some reason that doesn't happen to Mon-El, because, oh, he's been on the world a few months, so he's a bit more used to it, I guess. But he is slowly, like, dying. And so Supergirl does find a way to get him off the planet, because if he died, that would be way too sad for these Supergirl viewers. So we got to make it somewhat sad, because they're sad to leave each other. But he's still alive, so he can come back one day, guys. It's okay. But yeah, he leaves on the ship that he came in. For some reason, he goes through some sort of portal. I don't know exactly what it was. Um, we have the typical Cat Grant speech to Kara at the end of it. Apparently, she knows she's Supergirl. So all of my complaints about how can she see that Jimmy was Guardian under the mask, but she couldn't tell Kara was Supergirl. Apparently, that was all nothing. She apparently knew from I don't know. I don't know. Seriously, how could the number one news source in National City, and according to her in the world, how could she possibly know Kara was Supergirl and just not say anything at all? I. Okay, sure. She knows, but she's being nice by keeping her secret, I guess. But apparently she doesn't even want to tell Kara that she knows, but whatever. So yeah, Kara goes out there because apparently some building's on fire, and so she's like, I'm going to stop this. And so she goes out there, we see Mon-El flying into the portal, and then all of a sudden she's like flying up and crying. So I don't know, maybe she saw that, or maybe she was thinking about him at that time, and instead of going to save the fire, she just kind of flew away into the atmosphere. I don't know. But then, of course, we have to have some sort of cliffhanger, or else nobody would come back to watch the show. So we see that we're back on Krypton when it was exploding. We see Kal-El and Kara. They're going away in their ships. And so we go to another building with some sort of creepy-looking design on it. Their ship is red to let you know these are bad people, okay? Like, in case you wondered, in case the dark lights, the dark hoods, the fact that she put blood on the baby, in case you couldn't tell, we made sure to make the red outline on the ship so you could tell, you knew. So apparently another Kryptonian baby was sent to Earth around the same time Superman was. Maybe it got knocked off course as well, just like Kara's ship did, or maybe there's been secretly some sort of Kryptonian hiding that I guess has been hiding himself for several years now, and somehow Superman hasn't found out about it. And I don't know. Plot for season 3. There you go. We've got another superpowered, or another alien to fight because we couldn't come up with anything else. Because we have Kryptonians in the first season, Daxamites in the second season. We're going to have Kryptonians again in the third season because we are very one note with our villains. So yeah, that's about it for this finale. I mean, I pretty much said all there is to say about it. It was predictable. It was exactly what you'd expect. A lot of stupid stuff with it. More Alex and Maggie stuff. I didn't. Apparently they're going to get married now because, yeah, they've known each other for, less than a year and been dating each other for less than a year. So, of course, they're going to get married now because go gay marriage. We got to support something. Woo! Yeah, we're liberal. Don't forget it. If you're conservative out there and you don't support gay marriage, go jump off a building and Supergirl won't catch you because you're a horrible human being. So yeah, probably going to take up a majority of season 3 because they obviously see it as a huge deal, to the point where Alex even makes a comparison between when Kara came into her room when she was coming out of the closet to when Kara lost her boyfriend. So she's trying to help her like Kara helped her there, because coming out of the closet is the same thing as your boyfriend has to leave to another planet because he can no longer survive on our planet, which means you'll probably never see him again. Yeah, it's just the same! Oh, God. So, yeah, finish up with, I guess, final thoughts on the season. What can I say that I haven't already said? This season was awful. It started off well. It brought in Superman. It gave me hope that this season could actually be good. And then he didn't show up until the finale, and even then his arrival was kind of stupid. And aside from that, so much of this season not only was focused on relationships, but by the finale we realized it was focused on a relationship that ultimately wasn't going to go anywhere because he had to leave in the finale. So it focused a ton on relationships. I mean, even at the end, we've got John and Magon, we've got Maggie and Alex, even bring up Wynn and Lyra again. Superman's going back to see Lois. So all of these relationship stuff. It's just relationship stuff. We're relationships, guys. Kara and Mon-El, aren't they cute? Alex and Maggie, ooh, look, we've got a homosexual relationship on our show. We support you guys. We support homosexuals out there. Go you guys. It's all about the relationships. Even Wynn and Lyra, brought her in out of nowhere and they just hook up out of nowhere because we need to have a relationship for Wayne. McGon, oh look, there's another Martian. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen. Are she and John going to hook up? Of course they are, because they have to have a relationship. I'm honestly surprised Jimmy didn't have a relationship by the end of this season. I could have sworn they were going to give him somebody just so they could hook up every single character by the end of the season. And so, yeah, that's my biggest problem with the season as a whole. Way too much focus there. There was not enough focus on what the title of the show promises us, which is Supergirl. We didn't get nearly enough Supergirl. It was either about her trying to hook up with Mon-El, it was about Alex trying to hook up with Maggie, it was about Wynn and Lyra, it was about side stories, Jimmy trying to be a superhero, all that stuff. How much of Snapper Carr and Kara trying to work with him did we get? Maybe 4 or 5 episodes? How much of Supergirl trying to figure out maybe how to be a superhero while still handling her personal or social life? I don't think we got any of that this season. I can't think of one situation where she goes on a date with somebody and then, kind of like the first season, she goes on a date but then she can't keep it because she has to go save the world. She's at her office, trying to work for Snapper Carr, but she has to leave because she has to go save the world. That never happened this season because her 2 lives were so separate, and on top of that, her dating life was with another alien who knew her secret. How much less interesting is that whenever the person they're trying to date knows who they are secretly? I just, all in all, really, really poor from a writing standpoint. I mean, that's the main thing. It's just the writers are terrible. They're awful at writing story. They're awful at writing characters. It's really bad. So, I will say, though, because I don't want to just bash this show without any sort of reason, I will give it this. The actors and actresses on the show are good. And that is the one thing the show has going for it. And the one thing that probably will bring me back next season. That final scene, even though it was very expected, even though it was very obvious what was going to happen, the final scene between Kara and Mon-El, it was touching. Because they really do put their all into these performances. I mean, Melissa Benoist, I totally believe her as Supergirl. Everybody else in the show, I totally believe every emotion they put into it. But because the writing is so poor, because the story and the dialogue are so crap, it's almost like they have nothing to work with. So even though they're very good actors and actresses, their script needs a lot of work. So the only way Season 3 could possibly be good is if they went and hire better writers, go get people in who actually care about the source material and want to bring us something more than just let's ship characters. Let's actually try to write a good story next season. Let's try to bring in, obviously we've already got the villain planned for next season because why else would you write that into the end of the season? So yeah, it's going to be another boring Kryptonian villain, but at least give us something about Supergirl next season. Let her grow as a character. Let her grow as a hero. Let her grow as a person. Don't focus so much on the side characters and on the relationships and on, oh, who's she going to date next? Let's actually focus on her. That is what the Flash does so well. Even though he and Iris got a lot of attention, he's growing as a person because of Iris. Their relationship is helping him grow. It's growing his character. And on top of that, he's actually trying to balance being the Flash and being Barry Allen. Supergirl hasn't had to do that. So let's have more of that. Let's have more connectivity. Let's have a better written story. That's the only way Season 3 is going to improve. And frankly, it can only improve. It can't get much worse. So that's about it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this episode and this season in general? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for next year. Hopefully a better Supergirl. I'll see you guys next one. Peace out.